Hello, everyone. Hold on. Hello, hello, hello. Here we go. Okay. Hi, hi, hi. I hope you guys had a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend. Make sure my phone is on silent. There we go. Julia, our parrot, is on a roll today, so if you hear her uh making an array, an array of sounds, I don't know what's going on with her today. Um, I did teach her a new call last week, and she won't stop doing it. So I taught her the sound of a cookie. Cookie is a type of frog from Puerto Rico, and I love the sound. And I was watching a video, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how cool they sound. And I was trying to mimic it, and then I just kept doing it, and now she's doing it. So if you hear, I guess it's stuck. It was of interest to her. Um, that's, yeah, parrots, if they find a sound at all interesting, then that's what they hold on to. Uh, so, so yeah, so she got stuck. She's in love with that, with that sound right now. Um, yeah, and this weekend was pretty good. We actually went yesterday to the Reptile Expo out in Westchester, and it was really cool. I should actually grabbed. I left the something I wanted to show you in the kitchen, so I just remembered. Um, but yeah, we picked up a few things. I definitely was really hoping that because I've been seeing it progressively, that there are more and more aquarium-based things because there's a lot of axolotls that are being sold at these expos, and so I've seen them selling like aquarium plants and things like that. So I wanted to get more floaters. So basically, small plants like duckweed, salvinia that float on the top of your fish tank. And I really wanted some more. One, I have my shrimp bowl, and it's sitting in the window in direct sunlight, and I definitely wanted some. Then we have our guppy aquarium. We have two guppy aquariums and our goldfish aquarium. Now our goldfish might eat it all, so I haven't added any to to his tank yet, but I really think he might just eat it. So goldfish, they really honestly will eat anything that they could, but they do like plants, and so usually you don't want to add plants to the aquarium because they will just end up munching it. Even when they're very tiny, they'll just pick, 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 and they'll ruin the plants. There are certain plants that you could get away with that they might not be very interested in, or they just can't get a hold of. So more like, broader leaf plants that you can put in those aquariums. But anything small, like fern-like or anything like that, that's aquatic, they will just go after. So I did pick up. They did have duckweed and sylvinia, which I was really excited about, and so I grabbed some just to show you what in the world I'm talking about. Now they put them into these dishes, and so some of them, these little containers, so some of them got stuck to the lid. So it just looks like guacamole. Um, but there is water in here, and these are each individual little plants in here. So these are each individual little plants. There's so many in here. They're just floating, you can see. Um, there's some stuck to the lid, but there are so many for $5. So I did add already, as I mentioned, to my shrimp tank, but I have so much now that I need to now disperse across our other tanks. The same with the Sylvinia, it's not as prolific, but also floating, but you can see they're much bigger. So each individual one, kind of think of them as like little lilies, little lily pads kind of thing. Um, But these are really cool in that they have like a fur on top of them. They're very, very neat. And they propagate, they basically just make little plantlets connected by roots, and then they'll separate. And so they just kind of create like a mat. But what's cool about this is one, it protects the tank from a little bit of sunlight, so it can lower the amount of algae. Also, it's a enrichment. If any of them like die off and things, it's also food for fish, for any foragers at the bottom of your tank if you have anything, snails. Um, but yeah, it just adds to that little ecosystem. And so I was very happy that they had that for sale for $5. So it's a pretty good deal because at the local pet shop, it's just a little bit for $5. So if any of you are into aquariums or looking, for things like that, try those reptile shows or animal expos if you have them in your area. They also had an expanded amount of vendors featuring plants, which was really, really cool. We didn't pick anything up this time, but yeah, they had a bunch of things, not only moss starters, so they had moss starting containers. They had a bunch of different terrarium species. They already had some that were actually already made, and you could just purchase them ready to go. There were actually some underwater terrariums set up too with different types of plants, and they already had shrimp in them. And then a bunch of different types of pothos, philodendrons, vining figs, so different types of like ficus pumila and just different species like that. It was very cool to see the variety that they had at the show, which it was really, really awesome. So got super excited about that. But what I was going for was isopods. I definitely wanted isopods. And I wanted to also see if they had any cool beetles. I have a blue death feigning beetle. I really love beetles. And so one of my super worms actually. So uh as an experiment, I got a super worm, and I was trying to see if maybe it would become a beetle. And there were two, and then one of them molted, so they shed their exoskeleton, and I didn't separate them in time, and he ate his buddy. Um, I didn't expect that, but then I put him into an isolated container with some dirt, because that's what I saw online. Is just drop them somewhere, like with some dirt, some substrate, separate them out, don't feed them, just kind of let them be. And sure enough, he started coiling up, and I was like, okay, let's see what's happening. And then on Saturday morning, I looked in, and he had created like a little cavern. I almost said cavern, a cavern in this container. So as you could see, he dug out a circle here, and I was like, all right. So he kind of made this nest, and then he turned into a pupa. So this is him in kind of it's like a cocoon, but you can actually see where the beetle legs will be. So this was a worm essentially. Well, they're not really a worm, it's a larva, but they call them super worms. And so legless. And now I can see where his antennas will be. I can see where his legs will form. And he is supposed to stay like this for 2 weeks. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have a cool beetle after this. We'll see. I am setting up like another terrarium, but I'm going to be setting it up with desert plants. So I have my death feigning beetle, and it's in a little acrylic setup, but it has some fake desert plants right now because I was like, well, I want to put some desert plants in there eventually. But I decided I wanted to make a bigger space. And so my blue death feigning beetle, Blueberry. And so I saw that they were actually selling more desert beetles when I was there. So just trigger warning if anyone is scared of beetles, close your eyes for a second. Um, but this is called an armored beetle. Um, and super cool. And oh, hi Deanna. Hi, good day to you too. So if any of you are interested in like setting up terrariums and things, you can get really cool creatures that can live in your terrariums. And so I really liked this armored beetle. They're harmless, they don't bite or anything. They're also called handstand beetles, if you can see why this stance. So, very, very cool. Unfortunately, these guys, unlike my blue death feigning beetles that can live like more than a decade or so, these guys have a shorter lifespan. But it was just super cool. So I decided to pick one up to add to it. And yeah, so this week I'm hoping to kind of pick out which euphorbias and I definitely want to do some euphorbias in there. So some euphorbias. I don't think I want anything that could potentially, I mean, they're armored beetles, both of them, so they're not going to get stabbed by anything, but I definitely don't want myself getting stabbed when I'm doing maintenance. So I'm thinking not going to put anything with glochids like a puntia, um, nothing like a big mammillaria or any of those types of cacti that just can get some really nasty needles. I'm thinking more so um, non-cacti species, so things like euphorbia, um, and maybe even yeah, I'm thinking euphorbia. I'm actually, maybe some spineless cacti, if anything. But these guys don't like humidity, so it's plants that don't require humidity. Plants that like to stay dry, that barely get watered. Oh, that and I was thinking actually maybe some snake plants. So, um, something like the more robust type of snake plants. So if you don't know, Sansevieria, which was the old family for snake plants, they got reclassified, and so now they are Dracaena. And so there are some species like this, like these guys here. So that are super, super succulent. So these are really tough to the touch. They're not like the more thinner snake plants. These are structurally, this is how it is. It's very sculptural and it's hard there. So that's just the shape. So I really like this kind of look. I also like this kind of snake plant. Also very, very structural. As you see there, it's solid. So I can't move these. So I was thinking something like that. These guys, they like to go through longer drought periods. So I think something like that adds a lot of visual interest. There's also just so many different types. So these have thinner leaves. So this is a variegated variety, trifasciata. These are thinner leaves. These are thinner leaves. Um, but they also do like to go through drought periods. But the fact that it's a thinner leaf, I'm not sure if one, they'll start munching. And so I'm not sure if I want to go with some type, like a similar type of species, a variety to this one. But maybe this one, yes. This is another snake plant. Also a little thinner. You can see I can actually move these leaves. I can actually pinch them. So they're not as structurally sound as the others, but it still has a really kind of sculptural look to it. And it might kind of be able to hang out with the beetles without really uh getting munched on, just based on the overall shape. It makes it a little bit inaccessible than the broad thinner leaves that I feel that they could easily kind of start to grow and tip over. So I'm considering some snake plants, some euphorbia in there. um And yeah, so plants that I don't have to water that much because I don't want to add more humidity to the tank, uh, but just create a cool little ecosystem. So I'm thinking about that. I also have I don't have it on me right now, but I have what is called a well, Rose of Jericho. It's also called like desert rose. But basically it's a selaginella. So it it looks like a little tumbleweed, and then when you add water to it, it slowly comes back to life. It's also called like the resurrection plant, things like that. So they have this really cool life cycle where they'll dry and they kind of roll up. They become kind of like a like I said, like a little tumbleweed, just devoid of color. Just they look just completely dried out, and it can be years. And once the rains were to come, or in our case, we were to give them some water, it unfurls and it actually comes back to life and starts to turn green. So I was actually thinking of adding something like that to their tank and taking a time lapse. So I'm considering it. I want to see if once it comes back, is that something that I can, like, how long is the life cycle until it closes again? Or is that something that then I would have to keep it moist in order for it to stay alive? So I have to do more research on that. I've had those for a little bit and I haven't resurrected them yet. Because I'm like, okay, how am I gonna do it? How am I gonna do it? I definitely want to get it filmed, because I really want to have a time lapse like that. So we'll see. But yeah, so I picked up this little guy. I picked up the duckweed and the sylvinia, some aquatic plants. I'm definitely exploring more aquatic plants. That is a class I want to do soon. Is just to kind of talk about different types of aquatic plants and yeah, the like the do's or don'ts species to mix with, the how to acclimate them into your tank, things like that. So excited about that. And then picked up a bunch of different um let's see here, of different isopods and more more springtails. Now you can't see them through here. This was really cool. So I love springtails. I've talked about springtails. Springtails are really wonderful if you do have terrariums, you do have setups where you have like plant cabinets, things like that, and you struggle with fungus gnats. You have like an enclosed space with a lot of humidity, and you just have fungus gnats everywhere, and you're like, okay, I need to deal with this. Springtails probably are the best way to approach it without any chemicals or anything like that. And so springtails, they're not going to harm your plants. You add them to your soil, to your substrate, and they basically um, uh, eat any mold, any breaking down material, basically any food that would feed the larvae of the fungus gnat. So you nip their life cycle in the bud. So you kind of interrupt that life cycle, and you're able to just kind of hang back while the adult fungus gnats die. There's no food. They might not even lay their eggs in the first place if there is an absence of food, and the adults will just die out and problem solved. And then you'll have springtails, but they won't be harming your plant. They don't harm you, nothing of the sort. But usually they're sold either on soil, they're sold on horticultural charcoal as well, because that is a food for them. But something neat that I've been seeing is, hey, Jules, what are you doing? I've been seeing is that they're selling them on clay. So I'd never seen this before, and I just like so I had never seen it before, and I started seeing it recent weeks, and I was like, okay, well, I need springtails, and I kind of hope that a seller has them on clay, because I definitely want to experiment with that. So apparently, they will grow on the clay. You feed them, and then all you do is you separate them out into wherever you're putting them. If you're putting them in plants, in terrariums, into whatever setups that you're adding them to. So you kind of shake them out, and then you just re-wet. You kind of keep that clay moist, you reseal it, and you just put it in a dark cabinet, and you can forget about it for a couple weeks. And what's left of the population, they will just bounce right back. And you can just keep using the same container and get several generations of springtails. Really cool, really easy. This was only $10. But there are so many springtails. I'm not sure if you could see them. Oh, there you go. They're just these little white springtails. Um, Super cool, super cool. So excited to play around with that and see how many generations I'm able to get. But yeah, it's really cool. Oh, yes, absolutely. You can find springtails in nature. You can start your own springtail colony. Absolutely. You probably have springtails and you probably didn't know what they were. I've had a lot. So I do houseplant consultations for those of you who are here who might not know. And so I've had a lot of clients where they send me videos or pictures, and they're showing me like, oh, especially when they lift up the plant and it's on a plant saucer, and so the water is escaping through the drainage holes, and they'll pick it up and they're like, what are these? What are these that are hanging out at that base? So basically, where that bottom of the dish meets the saucer, it's especially if you recently watered the plant, a lot of moisture is staying right there. So that's a perfect environment for springtails. And you can absolutely gather those up if you wanted to. You could get like an old container. You could put some horticultural charcoal in there with some spring water. You can just wet it with some spring water, and you can throw some springtails in there that you can get. You can collect them out in your yard too. You could probably find tons in your yards and different types. And then you can feed them a couple options. You can either put 1 grain of rice, of uncooked rice. So you could do that with 1 grain, just that's it. Or you could get nutritional yeast and take like a pinch and kind of do this and just do that. Uh, and that's more than enough. And so what happens is that nutritional yeast or that grain of rice, it actually starts to grow mold on it. And that's their main food source. And so they will start eating the grain of rice that's covered in mold. And then, yeah, and then once they're done and you see no more food in there, you just add more. So you can absolutely do that. And then that's cheaper than absolutely, absolutely. Uh-huh.
Thanks, Jocelyn. That's really interesting.
Oh yeah, no, you're very welcome. And it's a great way to add them. I always recommend adding them to your plants if you know that your plants are staying moist a lot, because they will die in a plant that completely dries. So if you have something like a peace lily, if you have different plants like petunias, hypoestes, so plants, even like waffle plants, so plants that you really have to water as soon as they start just start to get dry, not bone dry, but they're just starting to get dry, and then you need to make sure you water them again. Um, those tend to do really well with petunias because there might be kind of this prevalence of getting mold. Uh,
Mhm.
so so yeah, it's a really cool a cool little hack to do, and then you don't have to worry. And then they will also eat anything that's breaking down in your soil mix. So there are some types of like organic things like wood chips. Um, if you have like coco coir or sphagnum moss that's mixed into your mix, that's going to start breaking down. And what's really cool is springtails and other types of like decomposers like isopods, they will start to break down these materials. And essentially, they're releasing kind of like the nutritional value, they're speeding up the process. So eventually, of course, these things would just break down. But if they have some help that are breaking it further down, they're breaking it into smaller pieces. It's becoming from this kind of locked in potential nutrition to actual nutrition that the plant can access. Because usually the plant roots are just kind of waiting as these things decompose to kind of access them. And so yeah, so you can create like a little ecosystem. but it's wonderful, and I really recommend it. And if any of you, I just got a bunch of different types of isopods. These are also known as like roly-polies, or what's another name? Pill bugs. They're also known as pill bugs. And yeah, just they're these now the bigger ones, of course, that's more for closed terrariums. So if you're setting up some type of like a tank or like a bowl, something where it's an enclosed ecosystem that you have like a bunch of different types of plants in there, I would really recommend adding some type of isopod in there, um, because then they are going to be part of that cleanup crew. They're just as leaves die off, they're going to be eating that. If you have some pieces of roots that die off, they'll be eating that. So they'll just kind of be managing the waste, and you can keep that whole system kind of going in its own little in a little cycle.
Do
The
they
one,
keep
huh?
reproducing,
Yes,
Jocelyn?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So they'll keep reproducing, and as long as there's food available and moisture. So if there was nothing, let's say that plant were to die, and they were to eat all of, there's no moisture being trapped into that plant, it's
Mhm.
not getting wet, then yeah, then they'll just die. They dry up, um, unfortunately. But yeah, no, they're super cool. I just wanted to show you this guy. Let's see if I can get him on video. Where'd you go? I think you're hiding. You were just out? Oh, here we go. So these are called rubber duckies. And so Brian and I already have a small colony, but we found this bigger colony. And so we're like, all right, we're gonna get more of them because we love these guys. But just I don't want to drop anybody. Let's see. Let's see. So here we go. So they have a yellow head, a yellow tail, and the middle of their body is this kind of like a dark chocolate, kind of gray color. You can see their eyes actually. Right here, you can see their little eyes, and it looks like they have a little orange bill. So they call them rubber duckies. So these are much bigger, um, than like the dwarf species that you can get. Especially the dwarf species, those um, are the more common ones that people add to their terrariums and to their house plants. They're dwarves, so they don't grow past that point. That's actually how I got into isopods. A couple years ago, I think it was actually during the pandemic. Yeah, I think it was 2020. Um, I got my first set, of dwarves, and I started creating a bunch of these like mini terrariums because I started adding them to my plants and to my bioactive terrariums. And then uh, yeah, now I have a bunch of these, and I am gonna start selling some because now, but these are the little guys, and that's it. That's how big they get. And there is a big guy in here. So this big guy is actually one I just found in my bathroom. It's just wild type that just live here in New York City. We actually have a lot of invasive isopod species in New York City. So this one is not a native. It's some type of Prunionis. Um, I have no idea exactly what species, but yeah, I saw it and I was like, you know what? That's cool. And I just threw him in here. So he's just been living. He's a giant amongst these little guys. But no, I have no idea. I don't have this type of species, and so he is just his own little one. But yeah, the dwarves are the ones that usually people will add, and I just fed them recently, so I put food in corners, so they're all congregating in those corners, but they're much smaller, and that's it. That's as big as they get. So these are usually ones that people get like for house plants and like springtails for different types of house plants that have to stay moist a lot. But yeah, so I'm excited to get these guys set up, and I want to record yeah, I want to record uh the process definitely, and especially with the as I'm building out my kind of like the aquatic how the aquatic plants. I want to do that as well. And thanks, Deanna. Yeah, so these guys have been getting a bunch of growth, and so that's been really neat to watch. So they have been doing really well, and the let me see, was it? Yeah, so a bunch of little cuttings that I added back here. Um, the tetrasperma cutting here, as you could see, has a little growth point there. So has crazy, crazy roots right now. Um, and so this was just a cutting I had gotten with a leaf. The leaf started turning yellow. I chopped it. And yeah, I just popped it into some water. That's it. I didn't add a type of substrate in this one, but it just blew up. So I have to actually fill it. So the water line is a little lower than I want it to be. But it's been doing splendidly, and new growth coming. Um, the little cuttings that I had gotten, also like the little sedum, it's been doing really, really great. The same with the um what's it called? This is the Batik Syngonium. And so that one, it has that leaf is coming in. So this little leaf spike. Oh, and I had shown you guys last week that our El Chaco Verde philodendron had a leaf that was coming out, and it came out. It looks so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Hold on, let me grab it. Doo, 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 doo. Here we go. Like this plant is quite large, so it's hard for me to angle it here. Okay, so these were the this is like this was the second oldest leaf. So it came with a mother leaf and a leaf on the way. And then this was that second leaf that appeared. The mother leaf died a few months later. As the other leaf, the third leaf was coming out. So this is the third leaf. And then now this is the fourth leaf this plant had. And look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. This is fresh. Still has that really gorgeous red, rosy color. And hold on, let me try to turn this around just so you can see how red it is on the backside. So the so this is where they get their name, El Chaco Red. So even the oldest leaf, it's hard to see on camera, but it has like a little bit of a blush that you can see along the edges. This leaf as well, you can see it has like a little bit of like a orange, kind of looks like a little orange blush around the edges. But now, right now, this brand new leaf is bright, bright, bright uh red, and these are for the purposes of protecting the leaf from like UV rays, so from getting sunburnt, also from losing moisture. Um, and so the plant is essentially pumping in a bunch of anthocyanins that have antioxidant properties into the leaf, just as for protection. And then as the leaf hardens and matures, this will start to dissipate and gets less and less. But with El Chaco Red, they do keep a little bit of a blush, so it won't completely go away. But yeah, it's super pretty, absolutely gorgeous. I love the veining on these guys. It's just such a gorgeous plant.
Mhm.
Where did I get the clear containers? Oh, is it the clear containers here?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, here?
yes, yes, all
Those,
those.
yeah, those are shot glasses.
Okay, it's a perfect container.
It really is. So these I got from I think from Dollar Tree. And
Uh-huh.
so I was looking for tiny containers, and I saw these shot glasses. And so what I did, so they're just shot glasses. So with these, what I did a reservoir system. So with these, I took a soldering iron and I made holes, all underneath. You could see
Mhm.
here, and then here these have no holes. So when I do with the little, oh, I don't know where I put my little squirt bottle, but when I do fill them up, it just fills the reservoir, like the water escapes and kind of goes up to here, and then that helps to just water them for keep them watered for a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, shot glasses. It works. It works. And the same with these little let me see here. So these little dishes that I put underneath them so that it catches any water when I'm watering them. These are actually for also from Dollar Tree, but they're supposed to be like for hors d'oeuvres.
Oh,
So like they're little dishes like for parties to have, either like chocolates or things that people hand out, like finger foods. And yeah, so I bought
perfect.
I
Yeah.
think they're it's like a 12 pack for $1, something like that. And so they are perfect. They're perfect for the display. So they fit five across. And so it works out perfectly. And they're kind of like a harder plastic, so they're also much more durable. I can drop them and I don't have to worry about them cracking or anything like that. Like I think I think after all this time I've only had one that actually cracked. Um and so yeah, like they're very, very durable. The same with the shot glasses. They're great. You know, just you can repurpose them, you can everything, and they really don't crack. So they've been great. So I really recommend them. Um, I'm trying to see if there were bigger ones. But yeah, I've used the bigger size, and I've used the smaller size. I love repurposing things like that. There's also like dishes that are meant, or not dishes, but little glass for votive candles as well. So I have some like in the bedroom where it's like a little cube and it's meant for you to put a candle in it. But I put leca, and that's how I've been growing a lot of succulents. When I first started playing around with leca and succulents, those were among my experiments, and I still have the cubes, and I still plop propagations in there. And yeah, and it's just a glass square essentially. But you could get a lot of things like that and repurpose them. I should do a whole class on that. Just grabbing like inert random things that you can use for your house plants, because yeah, they end up working really, really well. So I'm always happy to see that. I'm like, hey, this could work for a house plant. Um, and so I definitely use that to my advantage. Trying to see if I had any other um oh yeah, here we go. I'll grab that. And then I can also show the growth of this guy. So this plant I had behind me, um, but it was growing, and I wanted to add some more of the smaller propagations that I had gotten from eBay behind me. So I moved it to my western window, but I also repotted it because it was in desperate need of a repotting, and it blew up. So I repotted it. It's going to be 3 weeks. It's been less than a month. It's been less than a month. I repotted it. I just gave it a slightly bigger container. I didn't disrupt the roots very much. So it was very root bound. So when I picked it up, it was essentially solid. And so what I did is I backfilled a little bit of a smaller of a bigger container, backfilled it um, as a kind of a round after I kind of wiggled out the roots just a little bit. I didn't really want to mess with the roots because I just didn't want to. I really love this plant, and so I definitely wanted to make sure it was as stress-free a transplant as possible. And it lost its mind. So I gave it a good whoop, I gave it a good watering before I repotted it, and I haven't watered it since. So I watered it, and after 24 hours is when I decided to do the switch, and then I just put it into the western window. So that's all I did, and you can actually see all the growth. So this is the quadrangularis, the Cissus quadrangularis. It's in the grape family. And so this is the old growth. And look at this is all new. This is all new growth that's happened in these last few weeks. Um, and you could see the little grape leaves that they get. And it's so many segments. So one, two, three segments have grown from this plant. And on this side, you can see on this one, only this little guy grew, but there's actually two segments. So this is a teeny tiny little segment, and then that top segment with two leaves that look like they're starting to form. And this is still growing, so you can actually see that it's forming yet another little segment right there. Um, but you could see these little grape leaves. These guys vine out and they go crazy. Um, but they go through periods of kind of like not growing and then growing. So uh, it's just kind of been a waiting game. They gave me no growth during the winter whatsoever. It was just sticks. And yeah, it just after I repotted it and I gave it a really thorough watering before repotting it, and it just blew up. So it's very happy and it's so cool. And so it is a cissus, so super cool. And something cool about cissus, the family, is a lot of them do produce kind of sugar crystals, and this is very attractive to ants. And so the ants would go and climb on the vines and then eat the sugar crystals, and it's kind of like an exchange. So they will eat the sugar off of the plant, and as any pests were to come to try to attack the plant, the ants are kind of bodyguards that are being fed sugar. So they'll continue to live that. But yeah. Um, great question, Diana. So are the grow lights the only light source for these plants? So there is a western window across the way. If I turn off it's a very gloomy day today. The sky is all white. So I think we're gonna have some rain today. But just to show you, so I this is with the lights off. Uh, so it does get some ambient light from the window, but it's very minimal. So as you can see, that during the winter, this is dark. The light does not even get here. It probably makes it like halfway through the room, and then that's it. This whole area is just like somber. But if during the summer months, it definitely does hit the wall. So we do get this like really light ambient light though. So I don't think it really does much. I mean, this guy definitely likes it. It's been putting out a bunch of new growth. Hold on. Let me see if I could turn it. It's growing in such a wacky way, and I'm trying not to I might want to repot it, and then because it looks like there's two cuttings in there. This is a philodendron gloriosum. They are creepers, so they kind of grow like long and serpentine along the forest floor. So they're not like an upright type of philodendron like we saw with the Chaco, with the El Chaco that grows more upright. Um, and so there are two cuttings in there, and so I'm thinking of actually repotting that. I don't like the substrate at all, but they have it in. But then might change it because this part is growing in this direction, and then the other is growing. So it's growing like a V. And some like it's really hard for me to kind of maneuver here. But this one I had slightly off to the side, just getting ambient light, and it was loving it. And then I more recently, like in the last like month and a half, I had moved it closer here. And so far it's so great. It's doing really, really well. But yeah, these grow lights I have set up. There are three heads here, two heads that I keep pointing down, and then one head that I tilt to the side so that whatever plant that I have um, growing here gets some sunlight here. But here is a dragon, a golden dragon that I got like 2 months ago or so. And so it just gave me that new leaf. And it looks like it already has another leaf on the way. So that one's been growing there. Here, if I turn it, you can actually see the plant because the white kind of blinds it. And then I have a little grow light that I just clip on right over there, and then it is on there. And
Mhm.
so that is what gives light to this Philodendron maxima. Here is a bundle of sticks. Here is the base of a Philodendron McDowell that I picked up with these guys. So I picked it up. So this golden dragon, this Philodendron maxima, and the McDowell were part of a set and that I had picked up, but the McDowell had been very damaged by spider mites. It didn't have spider mites anymore, but it was very, very damaged by spider mites. And so the leaves just started going. And so I just chopped it back. I just chopped it back and it has a new leaf coming out. And so I said, I'm just going to put it there. It can get, the grow light right there. And so far, so good. But yeah, so I keep it like that. And then these are euphorbia that are here. Well, these are Spanish moss, but the euphorbia here. So they kind of get the ambient light from that direction, and then they get the ambient light from this direction. And then a Baltic that I need to give some water because now she's starting to look sad. But this is a Baltic blue pothos. Um, and that has been through a lot. This poor girl survived thrips. Um, and she's been giving me a bunch of new growth. And so that's been great. But yeah, and she also kind of gets ambient light from these grow lights, from that top light, from this. So she's staying really full, as you could see. So she's looking a little sad right now because she's starting to get really thirsty. So I have to give her a good watering. I did not get any watering done this weekend. So
Well, well, Jocelyn, how many
uh-huh.
hours does the grow light stay on?
Great question. So during the summer, I tend to leave the grow lights on. I turn them around 10 a.m. So they go on around 10 a.m. and then usually, um, so sometimes I'll keep them on at a minimum of 6 hours. But sometimes I'll leave them even up to 8, especially when I have like the little propagations and they're putting out growth. I like to extend the photo period a little bit. And so far so good. During the winters, I definitely want to keep these guys growing. And so I keep the light on like anywhere from 8 to like 10 hours a day. Sometimes I'll forget and it'll end up being like 11, 12 hours during the winter. But because it's so dark in here, it gets so dark in the winter. That's why I end up sometimes I leave the light on and it's going to be like the only form of light, even in the room because it's so bright. And so I end up leaving it sometimes even longer. But yeah, so they get a lot more direct light during the winter
Mhm.
because I tend to leave that light on much longer. And nowadays it's usually around the afternoon. I'll turn it off. But they still get a minimum of 6 hours of light. But they yeah no and I definitely try to put some of like the propagations closer to the lights. Um, Plants that don't need as strong of like direct light, I kind of move away. So like euphorbias and things like that on this side, where yeah it's not as direct. Versus a lot of these like little propagations and things that I want to kind of keep more of a a compact growth and things like that, I'll keep closer to the light. But these lights, oh my gosh, these are the same grow lights that I've had on this side. God, I think it's about to be like 5 years now. So they have been great. I don't remember the brand. What's the brand? I don't see the brand on there. But these have been wonderful. And I have a set here, and I have a set in the bedroom. Um, and they've just worked perfectly. There was a set that I got that only had two heads, but I think it was a different brand, but they looked very similar. And that one actually it died fairly recently. So I had it in another area in the bedroom. I have like these wall mounted metal shelves, uh, and I had one with two heads on it. And I'm not sure that one just died. It just stopped working. Um, I have to check what brand that one was, because I want to definitely, when people like leave reviews, it lasted a while, but I do want to make sure like, hey, it lasted like this long. Um, and I didn't, I, that, those lights, I did not, they were on a timer, uh, but I had them off for a while, like throughout the winter, I actually had them off. Um, and so I was very surprised when I went to turn them on and they were fine. And then like a few days later, they started sputtering out. But this brand is great. It has lasted and prolonged use, really great. And it has a clip, so it clips to the side of this table, and it has different brightening. You can also turn off some of the heads. So if you only want like one on or two, or two on, you can do that. And you can also set a timer. So I love all the capabilities. It doesn't change colors. There are some that change colors. I do have some grow lights that are like floor. They're upright that you can set those up. Oh, hi. Hold on. Hello. Let me see. But yeah, I do have those, and I recommend those, especially the ones that can change colors as well. Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I am under the care of my mother's plants and not doing good. Can I show
Oh
them to you?
no. Of course, of course.
Okay. I mean, I almost want to let them die out of spite, but then I thought it's not their fault. Okay. I'll go from best to worst.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this one, I guess is a succulent. Okay, and it looks like this because I just turned it around.
Mm-hmm.
This part was facing out, but I
Oh, okay.
figured I should rotate it.
Yes.
Okay, so I just thought of that on my own. So I rotated it so the part that was facing the window is now facing the kitchen.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So, when you do rotate your plants, you're gonna do a quarter turn. So if that side was
Ooh,
was against the window, then turning it just one quarter turn. So you're just kind of doop, just like that. So not like
okay.
a 180,
Ooh,
but
okay, cool.
yeah, only because so the plants, when they're facing a certain direction, they basically calibrate themselves in a certain way to kind of have everything facing the light source so that they can do the process of photosynthesis. And so if you
Mm,
if you turn them completely around, there are these like hormones and things like auxins that it takes a
mm.
while for them to recalibrate. And during that
Oh
time,
my
your plant isn't
God.
making food for itself. So you don't want to do like a full like 180, but rather, so like if you have it like this, you're just gonna
Yep,
turn it basically to the side. So
yep.
it's still able to just slightly shift, but it's not as big of a shift as if it was completely like
How often
backwards.
should this one be getting water?
And so it's hard to see exactly the species.
Hold
Um,
on.
let me see.
I just turned on the light.
See. Looks like some
I
type
think
of
it's a,
sedum. Uh-huh.
I think it's a succulent.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like it might be some species of sedum. It definitely looks like that. Um, I would say for these guys, especially I'm seeing a lot of aerial roots. So when you held that up for a second, like there's a bunch of little roots on the actual vines themselves. So
Mhm.
sometimes that can be a sign that it was going through periods of getting thirsty, but also it could be sometimes a lot of these plants they grow that way because if they were outside on the dirt, they actually are creepers, so they kind of create like a blanket across the dirt. Um,
Hmm.
so I mean, for these guys, sedums, they want to like dry, but then get nice bottom watered, so get like really nice and saturated. And they don't want to go through long periods of drought though. So I would say that if you're, and I'm seeing like some, it looks like at the base there might be some drying. I'm not sure if it's just the lighting. Um, yeah. So I mean, with those guys, what you could do is you could give it a really good bottom water and then kind of see how fast is that plant drying out, because it's also the container that looks like
Okay,
a
so
uh-huh.
really quick, for
Yeah.
the purposes of what I need help with,
Uh-huh.
I am not, they are not my plants. I'm
Yeah.
forced to take care of them like against my will. So I kind of just need like a quick, I'm just gonna write down what you tell me to do. There's a lot of them, so I can't
Okay.
think about each individual one's needs. I just
Uh
need like maybe a ballpark for each one.
okay.
Should I
I
be
mean,
watering this guy once every week or once every 3 months?
oh no, definitely much yeah. It could be once a week. It just depends on how warm it is in the apartment. So I know it's tough to kind of go, oh
It's
yeah,
about
this without
70. It's typically about 73 degrees in here.
okay. So I would say probably, yeah, maybe once a week, giving it a good water.
Really? Oh
If
my God.
not, maybe like every ten days, giving it,
Copy. Okay.
yeah, just
Once a
because
week to
sedums
10
don't,
days. Got it.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. What about this one?
that it's, what
It's
is that?
grown a lot since it's been in my care, actually.
I'm just trying to see if that's some type of Dracaena or if that is a spider plant. That might be a spider plant. Um, It looks like it's in a netted pot, or am I seeing incorrectly? Oh no, it's not. It's like some type of ceramic pot. That might be a spider plant. It's growing in an odd way, but I think it might be a spider plant. With these guys too, so they like to dry out between waterings. So I would say like maybe 10 days in terms of at the fastest.
Copy.
But yeah.
Copy that. Okay. Is this done for?
Oh no. I can't even tell what that was. I'm so sorry. Um,
I'm so sorry.
okay.
I am so sorry.
One way to know is if you find the stem and you scratch it with your nail.
Okay.
If you
I'm definitely
no,
not doing that.
okay,
Uh-uh.
then no.
Should I keep watering it or no?
No. I
No. Okay.
I would say no, because we're not sure
Okay.
if it's still alive. If you did do the scratch test and you see green, it means it's still alive. But if you
Yeah,
scratch and
I'm
it's brown,
definitely not gonna be
no.
getting my hands in no dirt for this plant. I'm sorry. Okay, is this one done for? There's still a bit of green on it.
Oh my gosh. So if that uh I mean, I would say yes, because if there's still some leaves growing out of it, they look a little burnt. It's hard to see what that little guy was, but if there is still active growth on it, I would say to yes, continue watering it because it'll come back. It's a slow process, but it can come back if there's
So for
still
this condition, should it be weekly maybe?
it has a thicker stem. And so I don't think, I mean, it looks very, very thin growth. Probably, yeah. I would say, yeah, maybe about once a week, just since that growth is
Okay.
super, super thin.
And this guy, I don't know how this one's thriving so well. Sorry, I'll show you some living plants now.
That looks like a pothos. Yeah, well, these guys like to dry out between watering. Um, and you seem to have it, well, your mother seems to have it pulled away from direct sunlight, so that means it's not using up water as quickly. So yeah, these guys, I mean, I water my pothos about every 2 weeks with yeah, about every like 10 to 14 days. And so
Okay,
yeah, they can
copy
go,
that.
they're a little bit more lenient.
Okay, I'll try not to show you too many more dead ones. I mean, it's a miracle these are alive.
Yeah, it's like it's hard because you have to, oh, that little guy. At least, yeah, with a terracotta pot, and that size, I would say probably about once a week because it's already drying
Okay,
out at the base. Yeah, that's a little Crassula.
here's
A
the life
Syngonium.
and here's the death. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Weekly
Yes.
or
I would say weekly. Yes,
copy
Syngoniums,
that?
they get more
Weekly?
thirsty.
This one?
Oh yes. Yes, so that's a Apelia. Yeah, I would say at least once a week. Yeah, because they don't
Copy.
like to completely dry out.
Okay. So I will be watering all of these plants weekly except for that one plant that needs it every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So yeah, I would, and just make sure that when you do water them, that if you're going fast, just make sure that the water is escaping the drainage hole, and do a couple kind of, and you're kind of going around the base so that
Oh shoot.
it gets,
Okay.
so don't, so,
All right. I didn't anticipate watering instructions. Okay.
oh,
So
sorry.
are you giving me watering? No,
Yes,
no, it's okay. It's okay. I asked
yes,
your help. Are you giving me
yes.
watering instructions each for all of the plants in general?
In general, yeah, in general. So if you're watering from
Okay.
the top, so let's say you have your plant and this is your water bottle and you don't want to water in one corner only, because then
Right.
there's roots on all sides. And so this side of
Okay.
the plant would be getting, those roots can die. So when you water, you're kind of doing a circle, kind of going around so that it gets very evenly dispersed.
Okay.
So you don't want to just water in one corner. But also if you're watering from the top, just make sure that the water is actually coming out, because it's showing that it's actually making its way through the plants, through the plant substrate.
What do you mean
Um,
coming out? What do you mean?
so through the drainage hole, so there should be holes at the bottom of the pot. Now, if there isn't, that's more of a guessing game, and that makes it really hard. But at least doing, a couple passes like that, to make sure that it's at least getting a little saturated, like the first couple inches of soil, then that's fine. There should be holes at
Okay.
the bottom of the pot, but some pots don't have it, and then that kind of further complicates things. But if you're doing bottom watering, so that's an option. That might be an option that you actually might prefer, where you could get, like either for some smaller containers, you can use like those takeout containers that are kind of like this. Or if you get like the bigger, like you can get like the 3-pack for like $1 at like a dollar store of those Tupperware. What you do is you actually put the pot into the water, in so you sorry, into the container, you fill it up with water about a quarter of the way to halfway, and you can walk away, do a chore for like 20 minutes, and then come back, and the plant will soak up whatever it
I
needs.
don't live here. I don't even live here.
So
I don't even
okay,
live here.
yeah. So then yeah,
What about this?
those are the watering globes. And so what that does is that you fill it up with water and you pop it into the substrate, and then as the substrate dries, the water kind of goes down. Um, it's not like the most surefire way of watering the plant necessarily.
Okay. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
do what you said the first time, which is to do like like evenly throughout the first inch or two, right?
Yeah, yeah, just to make sure it's at least getting saturated. at least that'll at least keep them okay until your mom's back.
Okay. I don't know when that. Okay. So I mean, it's been 10 months, and these
Oh,
plants have still lived despite
okay.
me not knowing anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's a lot of them have gone like a month without being watered. And yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna switch to once a week for all of them. And except for that one. And you said just basically make sure the soil is the water is like spread pretty evenly for about an inch or two down, right?
Yeah, so I mean, because a lot of the species that you showed, like the Pelia, the Syngonium, um, the even the little Crassula, the Sedum, so they definitely, especially now that it's summer, so they're they're getting much more light. So during the winter, you could get away with watering less, so
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely during the summer, you need to kind of up it a little bit because there's more daylight, it's warmer. And so yeah, but those guys especially, they tend to they'll start to die off if they're not like if they really dry out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Thank
It's like a
you.
rapid fire thing. Yeah, it's hard because you have to take. I know in your situation it's very particular. But yeah, but usually it's like you have to take into account where is the sun, the point, the direction of the sun, how much sun is it getting, the type of sunlight that it's getting, the type of soil mix that it has, the type of container, all that comes into play. It will affect how fast the water is used up in the container, or is retained in the container. And then you take into account the species of the plant. So yeah, so usually, usually, yeah, but I understand if you're kind of like, yep, I'm just trying to keep them alive.
For now, yeah. And then like for Mother's Day, I sent my mom a picture of all her plants. Well, all of the live ones I did. It's like, here you go. Like I'm doing my best here. Here's evidence of life.
Oh, well, I'm
Okay. So
sure she
yeah.
appreciates it. And yeah,
Yeah.
like that one that's like was cut down to the base that has some growth on it. I think it still had some growth. It does look a little crispy, so it looks like it just wasn't getting consistent watering, but
Yeah.
I would say, it's still putting out growth, so there's still a chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. I'm gonna try to save that one. Thank you so
No,
much. I
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
This is the first time I've been early enough to do this while on a Monday.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, no worries. Yeah, I'm glad you you were able to do so. All right. Diana, okay. Um, is there an all-purpose fertilizer of different types of plants, cacti, palms, zebras? Oh yeah, ZZs, ivy, bromeliads. Great, great question. All right. So, technically no. So, yeah. So there's a lot of fertilizers that are labeled that way, right? All-purpose fertilizers, for your grass, for your house plants, for your shrubs. And uh, so in some cases, some of those fertilizers, that are more like for outside gardens and things like that, yeah, sure, they can maybe work for grasses and they can work for a shrub. But in terms of other species that you mentioned there, like cacti, um, and bromeliad specifically, those are different. So with cacti, um, if you ever add fertilizers, you want to add something that's very gentle. So cacti come from a lot of nutrition, like nutrient deficient uh, areas, even the ones that are rainforest cacti. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, oh, if desert kind of arid type of conditions versus a rainforest condition, but rather a lot of rainforest cacti, for instance, they grow in trees. So they're only getting whatever nutrition if it's like dead leaves or kind of things that kind of get trapped around their roots that breaks down and gives them some nutrients. And in arid conditions, it kind of works the same. The base of the leaves, so they get any nutrition that they can that is in that substrate. And then as their own leaves, their bottom leaves die and fall and break down, they kind of take that in. So they tend to not want really nitrogen rich fertilizers. So if you are using an all-purpose fertilizer and you wanted to use it for your cacti specifically, I would say to dilute it even more. So let's say it says dilute it 4 times. I would dilute it like 6 to even 8 times, where it's like super, super, super diluted. Only because your cacti don't want that much nitrogen, they can easily get burned by that type of fertilizer. If you use it at the strength that you would, let's say, use it for your monstera, it would not work the same. And so it's just there's more of a risk that it would get burned. So either one option would be to really dilute it. That's one option. A second option is to just use something other than that, a type of all-purpose fertilizer. Guys, why are you arguing? Sorry, my cat. I have Mozart by my feet, and he's like playing guard dog right now. And Jules is wanting to come to jump on my lap, and Mozart is having none of it. So if you hear some growling, that's what's happening. Mozart has decided to claim my feet today. So, but yeah, so you might want to use something else, like something like worm castings. Worm castings work really great in that you can do that as well. Come on, buddy. And you can mix that. You don't even have to like worry like, oh no, it's not already mixed into my mix. Like, how do I get it in there? You could just just sprinkle around the edge of your plant before you water it. And then when you water it, the nutrients will just flow down through capillary action with the water. And so you don't have to like disturb your plant's roots or anything like that. So worm castings are great. And you don't want to use a lot. So you're just using a little bit of a sprinkling, and that's more than enough for the cactus. It'll be more than happy. Now, bromeliad. So bromeliads are a whole different thing. There is specific fertilizers that are made for bromeliads. You might see them sold also as air plant fertilizers. And so basically it's a different type of nitrogen that is accessible. So the regular type of nitrogen, that how it's in the form that it is in for the all-purpose fertilizer does not work for bromeliads. They just can't like tap into it, and it can also burn their leaves. Versus the type that is made for bromeliads, they oh my God, you are so angry. I'm gonna put him in the bedroom. Hold on 1 second. Go in there. Go in there. Why are you so angry today? You woke up on the wrong side of the bed? Yeah? Oh my goodness. You're so growly today. Just stay over there. I don't want you guys to fight. All right. Jules, don't instigate. Jules is following me as I'm putting Mozart in the bedroom. Of course, he's like, haha, you got put in the bedroom. Okay. But so with bromeliads, it's just a different type of nitrogen. It's basically a form that they're able to take it in. They uptake their nutrients actually through their leaves. So it's just a different type of delivery system of the same type of nutrient. So look for air plant fertilizers or bromeliad fertilizer. They have their own type of fertilizer that's different. There's also things like so there are for certain plants, they have their own tried and true fertilizers that are in the market. So like things like there are like African violet fertilizer, for instance, that's just for African violets. There are orchid fertilizers, so they're specifically made just for orchids. The orchid fertilizer actually works really well with Hoyas, so that you know. So yeah, I have used orchid fertilizers with my Hoyas. And so they really like the orchid fertilizer. I get it's a powder. I'm forgetting the brand name right now. But it's like a neon green powder. Let me see if I can the orchid fertilizer powder. Probably gonna be like there it is. Hold on. I'll share my screen real quick. Do, 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 do. But yeah, so with here we go, grow more. That's the so it's this like it's like a neon green kind of powder. The picture is making it look more yellow than it is, but this is the orchid food. And I actually got this tip from a private seller years ago. And that's how when I had bought a Hoya off of her, and she had said, "Hey, like I feed it this because I use this for my orchids, but I use it for my Hoyas as well." And I got myself some, and it's true. So,
Wow. Wow.
um,
So Jocelyn, when you see the formula 2020, are all 2020 formulas the same?
so technically, right? So there, it's supposed to be the MPK. So it's the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, um, for the plants. And so it's, but it's sometimes it's the delivery system that's different. So it could be that
Okay.
there's the same amount. Yes, it's talking about the ratio, um, but some fertilizers, for instance, are urea free. Some have a little bit more of like a salt component to them. That's also something to consider. So also looking at what other ingredients, and also the type of delivery system. So some of these are like, for instance, this you treat it as a foliar spray. So this is actually one that you spray directly on the leaves of the plant.
Okay.
And then there's others that you do not want to spray the leaves because it would burn them. It's meant only for soil. So,
Okay.
yeah, it fertilizers, it gets very, very tricky. With these, I like this one. This is one of the fertilizers that I use for not only orchids but also for Hoya. But also, and I actually have given this too to my Ripsalis as well. Um, it didn't give me like a miraculous difference. I mean, they were fine, but I didn't see like, oh, like a huge, huge big difference. But they seemed like they were fine with it. And I didn't use lots. I it was very, very diluted. Um, yeah, but for bromeliads, again, they have their own. That's also foliar that you would give them, but it's specific to air plants. Um, and I mean, for me personally, I've had it happen early on when I was first learning about fertilizing, where I burned a bunch of plants, and
Okay.
using different types of fertilizers. Like I was experimenting, and I ended up leaning towards less is more. So what I try to do is I go for the more gentle route. So for instance, I use worm castings. Uh, Basically on almost all my plants, I use worm castings, and then I also use aquarium water. So we have fish aquariums because then when I we switch their water, we can take their water, put it into a jug, and then I can go and water the plants. And so that ends up as like free fertilizer. And I actually saw very recently that now on Facebook Marketplace, people are selling aquarium water
Oh,
for
no.
house plants. Yes.
Oh,
I
no.
couldn't believe it. But if you actually have like a friend, a neighbor, someone that has fish, and usually when you empty out when you do a water change, it's usually like anywhere from like a 25% to a 50% water change. You people usually dump out the water. They just put it down the drain or down the toilet. Um, but if you happen to know someone, say, hey, can you like say, here's an empty gallon jug. Like when you're doing it, can you just put some into here for me? It's a really great, great, great way to feed your plants really gently. It won't result in like burning. It's just a wonderful way to very gentle type of fertilization for your plants. I love to do it, tried and true. That's how my mom did it, and so that's how we've always had fish. So we've always had fish. This might be a great excuse to get a fish, but it really is helpful.
That's
I
great.
swear by it.
Right. Do you just use it straight, Jocelyn? You don't
Yes,
dilute it anymore? You just use it out of the tank?
out of the tank. Yeah, no, not
Okay.
diluted. Yep,
Okay.
just straight out of the tank. So I
Okay. Thank
just
you.
you're very welcome. Yeah, I just save a couple gallon jugs because for some of my plants like my sundews for instance, and also for just certain animal species that I have to use distilled water like for like the springtails and things like that. Um so we'll have like a jug, and then once that gets emptied, I have like three jugs that I like to use, and so I just use that to fill up with plant water, and then I'm able to use that, water them. It gets used very, very quickly, and yeah, so it's great. It's great. Let me see here. Yes, exactly. Yes, George, exactly. Nitrogen can be in different chemical forms. Exactly. So it's a different delivery system for the nitrogen. It's like in different capacities. And so yes, so it's like for instance, the type of nitrogen that the bromeliad is able to access and actually utilize is different than the nitrogen that's used in typical like all-purpose fertilizers that are meant for different types of house plants. And so yes, exactly. It comes in different chemical forms. And yes, make sure that they don't treat the tank chemically too. Yes. So that is definitely something. Thank you. Yes, for any algicides or any aquatic kind of herbicides. So just make sure if you do I mean, if you're purchasing aquarium water for houseplants, that they'll tell you like, hey, we're selling this for plants, so they don't add those type of chemicals to them. It doesn't hurt to ask though. But if you are getting from a neighbor, just ask. You didn't use anything to kill plants in your tank, right? Because yes, that could harm your plants. And so I don't use any of those types of chemicals. The only things that I use in my tanks are like a water conditioner that just removes the chlorine out of the water, and I don't use it in all my tanks. So like for instance, my shrimp tank is just dechlorinated tap water that I leave out for the chlorine to evaporate, and then I add it into the tank. Then there are other tanks that we do add called C Chem, and so they have different like dechlorinators where you add that to your tap water, it dechlorinates it, making it safe for your fish as you're adding in the chlorinated water. But yes, not adding any chemicals that could kill plants. So some people don't want plants in their water, especially algae. And so, if any of you have plant propagations that you have in a windowsill, you might be familiar with algae. And so, basically, it starts to grow. It gives it kind of like a green kind of tint to the glass. It can start to stain the roots of the plant as well as any substrate that you might have in there. And basically, it steals oxygen away from your plant's roots, from the actual cuttings roots. And so while a little bit isn't too worrisome, if it does start to take over the container, then yes, you definitely want to clean out that container. But this happens with fish tanks. And so especially if they have a light fixture or if they're very close to a window, they can indeed get covered in algae. And one, it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. That's just number one. But number two, while some fish, of course, do eat the algae, and snails too, sometimes it's not fast enough, right? And then it's more upkeep. So the aquarium owner will have to like manually remove it and scrub it off. And so it's just kind of like a tedious task that some folks that have fish tanks are like, no, absolutely not. I'm not dealing with that. So they will just add algaecide. So they'll add a chemical that's not harmful to the fish or any of the other critters that they might have in there, but it will kill the algae that's floating around in the water that hasn't gotten stuck to the glass. And yeah, so that can happen. And also there are kind of herbicides for aquatic plants as well. If let's say they have a plant that maybe came in with the substrate that they purchased, or sometimes folks they'll buy different types of like used aquarium, kind of used aquarium decorations and things like that. It might come with a plant that they did not want, that maybe it could be a pest plant. And so then they will go ahead and, just again, if they just don't want plants in their aquarium, so they'll use that kind of herbicide that will again not harm the fish, but will kill any plant that is inside of the aquarium. So this you usually see a lot of um things that more so if like folks kind of reuse substrate or things like that, and then they wanted a certain aesthetic for the tank, like it's just white sand, and they want to keep it like very clean, very kind of sterile looking, and they don't want the plants in there. And so they will do that, unfortunately. But yes, but then in turn, it's no longer safe for you to use that water for your house plants. So yeah, so if you are getting it from a neighbor, just double check that. But otherwise, hey, get a fish, get a fish tank, get a fish. Enjoy having a fish, enjoy having some free fertilizer water as a result. And hey, you can also extend to having plants in your fish tank. So for instance, for those, I showed it right at the beginning, I got a bunch of floaters. So these are plants that float on the top of your fish tank. So I got some Sylvinia, and then I got some duckweed as well. And there's so much duckweed. There really is so much duckweed. Um, and you can have plants in your aquarium as well as your shelves. You can have them inside of an aquarium. So that's what I'm currently working on, is starting to put some plants in my aquariums. But also and on top of the water because of the floaters here. But I'm actually thinking for one of my guppy tanks, I might actually put some Monstera cuttings in there, so that the roots can kind of go crazy. It gives the guppies kind of like a mangrove feel effect, because of the roots of the Monstera. So I have two Monstera cuttings that I have that are rooting in water. And I kind of want to put them into one of the guppy tanks. I'm really thinking about that. One, that they'll be just kind of sitting in fertilizer all the time, and so I'm kind of excited to see what would happen if I do that. Um, and yeah, I mean, there are certain species of fish, for instance, that you have to be very careful that are more delicate. So certain plants like Monstera, philodendrons, they are toxic when eaten, like in terms of the leaves. But they also might release oxalates and some types of like toxic particles through the lower stem contact with the water, or through as an exudate through the roots. So some fish are very sensitive to that kind of thing. So if you are going to add certain types of plants to your tanks, just do a quick Google search, go on a forum, just kind of ask, hey, I have like this specific type of fish, and I'd like to add, let's say, a Monstera cutting. So I looked, and a lot of folks have Monstera cuttings and philodendron cuttings with their guppies, and they're perfectly fine. It does not seem to bother them at all. So that's why I'm like, okay, I might do that. But there are certain types of house plants that you could definitely use that way, but you just wanna check. I don't know where I put it. I guess I'll show you guys next week because I'm not sure where I put the little box because I ordered it from from Amazon a few weeks back, but because I started getting ideas about putting cuttings into into my fish tanks. But I bought these they're like little suction cups with zip ties, essentially, but they're meant for houseplant cuttings for you to put in your fish tank. So basically, you can put it on the side, you can put your cuttings through, tie the zip tie ever so tightly just for it to hold up the plant. And then you can stick them in your fish tank, and now it won't sink to the bottom if you only want the roots, let's say, submerged. And then, yeah, it's a fun way for you to kind of grow your propagations in your fish tanks. And I bought that a few weeks back because I was already having the seeds of the experiment were starting to emerge. And so now I think, yeah, like, yeah. I mean, it was cheap. It was like $4. And so yeah, I might put the Monstera in there. And then, yeah, I'll see what other cuttings. I was thinking maybe one of the Tetrasperma cuttings or something like that, that I might put in there. And just to see what kind of little, how, the growth rate, and things like that, what differences I see. Like, I was thinking for one experiment of putting one of the two cuttings that I got for the Monstera. They both have two leaves. They were both cut from the same mother plant at the same time. Um, and so I thought, well, they're similar size. So what if I were to put one in the fish tank and keep one outside of the fish tank, and then just see the difference of growth that way? So I was thinking about that. But then I feel like, well, I want the other one to grow as fast as this one if it does start to grow really fast. So, because they still have they just started getting fenestrations. They're still very immature, like more heart-shaped leaves of Monstera. So, um, but I would love them to kind of go crazy. I really would love to see that. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. But yeah, but thanks so much, everyone, for coming, hanging out, for your questions. It's always I love it. I actually just looked over and saw questions. Hold on. So Marianne, how long would you leave rooted grapevines hydroponically started before you plant them into soil? Great question. So two things I would look for if I was wanting them to before I transplant them. Number one, usually you want the roots to be anywhere from 2 to 3 inches at the very least. That's like the bare minimum. But the second sign that like to look for is not just water roots. So water roots are very thin. They're kind of like really thin leaves. Oh my gosh, roots, very thin roots. They look kind of very, very, very delicate. I would look to see that it starts to produce thicker roots that are covered in root hairs. So kind of like here, I'll show a difference here. So these are some water roots. They're kind of thin, kind of scraggly. But then it started to put out these thicker roots. You can see the difference. So between the water roots and this really thick root here, it has two of these really thick roots. And so these water roots are much more spindly. They look very, very delicate. They do have root hairs, but it's just not as pronounced. Then you start to see these really thick ones. So they're really covered in root hairs, super, super thick. I like to get these, I like to just let them kind of grow a little bit more before I even think about putting them into soil. But these are the types of roots that I would want to kind of be watching out for, those thicker roots. Kind of hard to see with this guy, maybe better like here. So here, so this one gave me some pretty thick, so here's some water roots, some really thinner white roots, and then these really thicker roots. Those are like those thicker roots. Those are the ones I would be looking for before I would want to transfer to soil, because they're going to imbibe more water. They're just going to be stronger than the really thin kind of those thin roots that are just going to dry. I mean, once there's no more water around them 24/7, they're just going to shrivel up and die. You want those thicker roots because those are the ones that are going to more easily adapt to that, to the new environment. So I would say that wait for those thicker roots, because sometimes folks are like, oh, it's just 2-3 inches. Yeah, sure, you can. But what ends up happening usually is that those roots will shrivel up. I can't talk today. Shrivel up, and then it just takes a little bit longer because then those new roots have to come out and really start to establish themselves. You're still obviously going to have new roots establishing themselves, but with these thicker roots, but then you at least have those to kind of help in the meantime. So I would say just wait for those really thicker roots and get them to a nice size. And then I think that would just increase your kind of your odds in terms of a successful transplant. Um, Irene, I read about reviving the orchid. Are these really true and valid using Coca Coca-Cola, baking soda dissolved in water, garlic powder dissolved in water, and banana fused water? Oh my gosh. Okay. I would not use Coca-Cola in your house plants. I would not. No, I don't think Coca-Cola. I mean, it's sugar, sure. But I feel like that would just lead to bacterial overgrowth and potentially mold. So I wouldn't recommend that. Baking soda devolved, dissolved, dissolved in water. Well, that makes the water very alkaline. Now there are some plants that like more alkaline water. I'm trying to remember if I think orchids end up being in more acidic conditions, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I don't think baking soda dissolved in the water necessarily for reviving an orchid. I'm not sure about that. I can't say. Garlic powder, I would not recommend it. I feel like that would also could potentially burn the plant. And also any of that powder that starts to float to the top, it's just going to mold. It's also going to just bring bacteria and mold. Now, banana fused water, that's a slightly different one. Banana fused water, it's rich in potassium. You want to make sure that it's very, very fine filtered, like through like a muslin or like really, really filtered where there's no pieces of banana left. And that water, that actually, you can even like put it through like a coffee filter. That would work really well. But yeah, they are, that's actually really good for staghorn ferns. So a lot of plants actually really like banana fused water. I wouldn't be surprised that an orchid wouldn't like it. I mean, I think it would really, really like it. But the others, I don't know. I see too many no's in my risk assessment. But the banana fused water, it does work as long as it's super filtered. So just for folks that sometimes they will what's it called? Yeah, like do it, but then and kind of give it to their plants, but there's like little bits in there. Especially if you're putting it into soil, then that can that's just mold. Now staghorn ferns, I have seen folks just take, but these are like these giant, immense ferns. They will actually take the banana peels and throw them, and they'll get wedged in between the leaves of the plant. And as it breaks down, folks do that. But I mean, it takes a really long time for a banana peel to actually be composed. I believe it takes like 2 years. And so it's not a very quick process. But yeah, but the banana fused water, it's really good for certain plants. Some plants wouldn't really appreciate it, but I know like staghorn ferns love it. I wouldn't be surprised. I've never heard it used for orchids, but I wouldn't be surprised because they would probably really like it. And I've heard people actually put it in like monsteras and different philodendrons and stuff. But again, as long as it's very fine filtered. Holly, I transplanted the aloe vera. And does algae hurt the plant that are rooting? Oh, good question. It doesn't necessarily hurt the plant, it competes with the plant. So if you have your cutting and you start to get algae growing in your container. So it's not hurting your roots, but what it is it's stealing oxygen from the water. And so then that means there's less oxygen for your roots. So your roots need oxygen. So a really very quick fix is you remove the plant from the container, use like a little bottle cleaner. I got one for like baby bottles and I use it for my propagations. And you just give it a really good clean with some hot water, use the little thing, get it really like a pipe cleaner, kind of get it really nice and clean. Rinse it out with some cool water, put your plant back, fill it back up, and it's fine, mitigated. So totally fine. So it's a very quick fix. So, but it won't necessarily like directly attack your plant. It's just that it's stealing oxygen. And so in in effect, yes, it is competing with your plant. Um, so Iris asks, do you need to dilute the orchid fertilizer further for use on Hoyas? Yeah, so I mean, I always dilute it more than it says. And so if something says like to dilute it 2 times, I tend to dilute it 3 to 4 times. And so it's already very diluted. So I always recommend that only because again, there is that risk of burning. So if I can do something beforehand to potentially lower that potentiality, then I do that. So I always dilute it more than it says on the sticker. And I do recommend that folks do that as well. Even if it's at least 2 more times more, because it just lessens the likelihood. I would rather it be a much more gentle fertilizer than it be just too strong, and then end up burning my plant. So yes, it's already diluted. Yeah. And then Holly, I put some beans in my plant water. Let me see here, and it got stinky and spoiled my plants. Oh no. My plant water and it got stinky and yeah, of course, you're very welcome to my deep dives every week. I always enjoy it. So you guys kind of direct it. So I always love it. But yeah, some beans, yeah, it depends. Sometimes folks say, yeah, like the beans. I've heard people saying like to put what's it called? Not only banana peels, but what was it? Oh, coffee grounds. So yeah, so there's people online that will tell you to take like banana peel, chop it up and put it directly into your plant soil, or take coffee grounds and put it directly into your plant soil. But what they're not accounting for is mo most of our plant soils, they aren't the micro ecosystem that they're supposed to be. So some of them don't have springtails, right? They don't have microorganisms in there that are going to be breaking down that to make that into compost. So you don't want that process happening in your pot, in your actual house plant pot. So what you want to do is, sure, you want to make your own compost. Absolutely. But what you can do is get a bin. You get like a plastic tote, and then you can put like sawdust in there, or you can put like wood chips. You can add things like if you wanted to add red wigglers, so worms. If you're like, I don't want worms, well, you can add things like isopods, or you can add other types of decomposers into your bin. Then add your coffee grounds, or add your chopped up banana peels, or whatever it is that you want to add. But you have to have some critter in there that's going to be breaking that down, because what's going to happen, it goes through these cycles where the mold starts to grow, and so you need an animal that's eating the mold and breaking down the product to then turn it into compost. So it has to turn into compost, so it has to go through this like little process before it's actually usable compost. And so you can't replicate that inside of a plant pot. It just doesn't work, especially if it's in higher volumes. So if you're putting like a whole banana peel, chopping up and putting it in your monstera, it's just going to mold. And yeah, and even if you had already like a little micro ecosystem in there, it's a much smaller volume that they're able to consume. They wouldn't be able to kind of eat all of that food all at once. So it's much better if you want to make your own compost, do that in a separate, purposeful location, like a bin, versus inside your plant pot. That's just a danger to your poor plants. George, it's going to rain on Wednesday and Thursday. They canceled the trip. Was going to NYBG. Yes, I'm signed up for the event on Wednesday. I did not know. did they cancel it? I didn't even know that they canceled it,
No,
but
the
uh-huh.
event will take off, but it's going to rain in the afternoon on Wednesday. But I think it's a great one because they invited the manager of the highlight to speak this year. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely want to connect with you. So we have to get together. You've been coming for so long. I would really love to connect with you. I mean, I'll check even if the event if it is raining and stuff. I mean, I might still go just to go to the garden in the morning. So I might just still go then and
Yes.
go hang out. So yeah, hopefully that'd be cool. Um, Let me see. Oh, Holly, algae developed when I put worm castings in the water. Oh, okay. So if you do have it in direct sunlight, algae is going to form. No matter, it's as long as it has a light source, the algae is going to form. And so I would say, that's why you kind of have to watch for your water propagations when you have them by a window. Um, so yeah, that's something that in terms, so it's not that the worm castings cause the algae, but rather that worm castings are rich in nitrogen. And so you already have algae. Algae is floating in our water, in our drinking water. It's floating around, it's there. And then once it finds a surface to lock on, it starts to grow. So algae is it's a symbiotic relationship between like algae, it's like a plant with a cyanobacteria, I believe. And I mean it's very cool. Like there's also this cool thing with lichen as well, that lichen was believed just to be um algae. So it was algae with a fungus. But then it has also been found that it also has there is a cyanobacteria in there. And now I've read some things about algae kind of being the same, where there is this relationship with cyanobacteria. And what's really cool is I have to deep dive more into it, but because I just saw it over this last week, but that we scientists have seen it was like an algae that consumed. So it was like an algae that consumed cyanobacteria. So it actually um, essentially formed a new creature, essentially. Really cool. I'll look more into it. But yeah, but this is what we've seen like in the rise of multicellular organism, where a unicellular organism engulfs another unicellular uh, organism, and then it ends up becoming a multicellular organism instead of just like eating it and then it like kind of disappears, but rather it forms like a new thing. So that was really cool, but I have to deep dive more into it. But it's like the first time in our lifetimes that we've seen that apparently, and so very very cool to see. Um, Eggshells too, yes. Holly, eggshells. So eggshells, the thing with eggshells is they're not cleaned properly if they still have some albumin. So that's that uh like that clear film layer that sometimes if you let your eggshells dry and you turn them over and you see it's like a little film. So that's albumin. If that's not cleaned out and completely dried, then what ends up happening is that that will end up molding if it comes into contact with water, or it just feeds bacteria, whatever might be present. So if you were to add those eggshells into your soil, you might start to see some yeah, some some mold there as well. In terms of you can actually pulverize your eggshells. You could grind them in your blender and make it a powder. That's a better delivery system in your substrate if you're trying to add calcium versus just getting like pieces of eggshell and putting them in. Some people do that on purpose though for slugs, so it has like sharp. They kind of have like a little barrier of broken down eggshells to kind of protect their plants. But if you're trying to actually feed the eggshells as a nutrient to your plants, pulverizing them like in an herb grinder, a coffee grinder, or if you have a really strong blender that can really get that into a powder, then that helps the plant, like the soil, it breaks it down faster, and then the plant can actually use it much faster. So that's good. And Irene asking about blender, like a blender with the banana leaves, or should it be the clear infusion only, or dilute it in the blender portion? So it depends. So something for like a staghorn fern, I would say, like, I honestly would say it should be the clear infusion only. So rather than the using kind of like all that pulp and then adding it to the plant, um, unless you're adding it, if you're wanting to compost your banana, the banana, oh my gosh, what's the what's the peels, the banana peels. If you're wanting to compost them, putting them through the blender and then adding them to your compost bin does indeed help whatever organisms you have in your compost bin break them down faster. That's a definite. But if you're using that water, the banana water, to feed to your plants, I would say you want the clear infusion. So even if you were to put it through the blender, like you really want to get everything out, then what you could do is you could put it into like a muslin cloth, or like there's like cotton filters where you can kind of put it and you kind of squeeze out all that water and leave all the pulp inside, so that you only get that clear infusion. I would say that that would probably just be the best way, just to avoid potential like bacterial overgrowth or mold in your plant. So I would say that. But yeah, I hope that helps. You're very, very welcome, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming and hanging out. And yeah, definitely hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday, and yeah, and the rest of your week. And yeah, I hope I will see you next week. All right,
Okay.
have a great one,
Okay.
everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a great one. Bye, everyone.